Here's something strange about last week in commercial real estate. The market didn't really move on price. It moved on rules, and it was about who gets to decide what you can build, refinance, or sell. This is the CRE 360 Signal Weekly Signal. Let's walk through the last week of May 2026. It started with the Fed. When the Federal Reserve released the minutes from its late April meeting, there was a sentence in there that almost never shows up. The committee went out of its way to single out commercial real estate as a place where credit is still tight. High borrowing costs, cautious lenders, they held rates steady and quietly pushed the rate cuts everyone's been waiting for further out into late 2026 and into 2027. Here's why that one sentence matters. A lot of deals signed back in 2021 were built on a simple bet that cheaper money would show up right about now to refinance into. Refinancing just means swapping an old loan for a new one when the old one comes due. The Fed basically just said, on the record, don't count on that yet. And that bet, the one about cheap money rescuing everybody, leads straight into the second thing that happened. Because for 3 years, there's been a companion story right next to it. The story was that banks were quietly extending their bad real estate loans instead of taking the loss. The industry even had a nickname for it: extend and pretend. Except last week, a Federal Reserve economist published a paper that found little real evidence that's actually going on. And at the same time, Bloomberg reported banks are openly writing those troubled loans down, in some cases eating losses of up to 85 cents on the dollar. So the whole picture flips. It looks less like banks are hiding the problem and more like they've been quietly cleaning it up and lending again on top of it. Now, I'd hold that loosely. One paper isn't the last word and the data's messy. But if it holds up, a lot of funds sitting around waiting for a wave of fire sales might be waiting for something that already came and went. If the Fed and the banks were about money, the next two stories are about something blunter: permission. Take data centers, the hottest asset class in the country right now. In the space of a single week, 4 very different places, Denver, Seattle, Minneapolis, and a handful of towns in Maine, all moved to pause or restrict new data center construction. A pause like that is called a moratorium, a temporary freeze while officials rewrite the rules. And notice what the fight isn't about. Nobody's questioning demand. Everybody wants a piece of the AI build-out. It's about power, water, and who ends up footing the bill. These cities don't share a politics and didn't pick up the phone to coordinate, which is exactly why it's worth paying attention to. The map of where you can actually build just shrank. That same word, permission, runs right through the last story, except this time it's Washington holding the pen. The Federal Housing Agency, HUD, put out a report on cutting home building red tape. On paper, it reads like polite suggestions. The real teeth are in the money. The signal is that federal housing grants could start depending on whether a city genuinely speeds up its permitting. For years, Washington could only ask cities to move faster. Now it's hinting it'll tie the check to it. So what connects these? Every one of them moved a rule, not a price. The Fed reset the timeline for cheaper money. The bank data reset a 3-year assumption about hidden losses. Local councils reset where data centers can go. And HUD reset what a slow city stands to lose. For anyone building or financing right now, the takeaway is the unglamorous one that's usually right. This year, watch the policy and the paperwork as closely as you watch the price. None of this is investment advice, and plenty of it could shift again next week, which is sort of the whole point. But if you remember one thing from late May, the rulebook moved more than the market did. That's the signal. We'll see you next week.